I am back for another illuminating video. I just wanted to share this video that I came across. I'm always going over and reviewing these Jordan Maxwell videos from time to time. I've been coming across ones that are actually shortened versions of the originals. And the channel, the International, is a very good channel for watching a lot of Jordan Maxwell's work and all of the information. It's a wealth of knowledge. If anyone is interested in astrotheology and where words come from and symbols, and also the history of our world that most people do not know about. Jordan Maxwell was a deep researcher in religions and the foundations of our reality. And what he found were some amazing truths about things. So I found this little clip and I wanted to add this about Michael Tsarion. And if you guys don't know about Michael Tsarion, then I do encourage you to go and research his work. I found him years ago when I was working on Hollywood movie sets in the studios and things. But he was really into a lot of occult knowledge. And so he and Jordan Maxwell actually crossed paths at some point in their adventure of looking into etymology of words. And they've been on this journey of truth, trying to reveal what they found that's been hidden from all of us in the secret societies and symbolism and the occult knowledge of these words and terms that they've been using, as well as the symbols. The symbols are very, very important. And once you know colors and alchemy, the alchemy of frequencies, the alchemy of everything, pretty much. And it's the alchemy of the four elements. If you just start with those basic four elements, this is going to get us back and do a reset back into our foundations of our reality, instead of going into chemistry, because chemistry is a man-made concept. And it's made to confuse people more and to muddy the waters of the minds so that people can't really see the truth of reality. But when you get back to the natural laws and the natural ways of the world and the foundations of nature, nature has one truth. And this is where we need to just think about the reset of everything, like just getting back to the roots of everything, where everything came from, and starting over from scratch, because we've been lied to on such a grand scale that as people continue to follow the narrative, that is where people will get tricked. You get tricked when you follow the story. And who is telling the story that the world is following at any given moment? Because that is where the lies can come in, and the deception can always be in there, in that mix of that story. But you cannot be fooled if you are rooted in the foundations of reality. And that's why this work is so important, to get back into the knowledge of astrotheology, the science and spirit of the stars. It is us that we are thinking of when we're discussing these things. We are talking about us. Where do we actually come from? What is this playbook, this astrotheology and the zodiac wheel and all of this? It's actually a playbook for our character roles that we came to play. But we never knew this. But we can know ourselves more fully if we begin this journey into this spirit science that's called astrotheology. With no further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and play this video and hope you guys enjoy it.
Michael Tsarion, for you, what was the revelation? What was the beginning that got you into this?
Well, that happened back in about 1980 when I made a trip to California, and some mentor at the time, you see, had been talking about language. I've been talking about etymology. I mean, it's like full circle. Here we are again talking about the same thing. But yeah, this journey, you're right on with the question, because right back then I got interested in something. That's why my message also goes out to the young, to say, start, also getting interested in symbolism and the mysteries of language. I know I certainly was not interested in too many things, but that got me interested. And this fellow, this mentor, American gentleman, actually a great artist who worked for Bill Graham, a very well-known man. He had a tremendous knowledge George, about the meanings of words. He also knew a lot about English words, English country, towns and villages, and sort of like Manchester and Chichester. I mean, he would just go on and on about the meaning of words like Belfast and Dublin, and this completely fascinated me because I never, we're not brought up in school really to look at words like that. I mean, okay, academics know about linguistics and stuff, but there's no magic in that. That's a science and what have you. But there's a romance of names. There's a romance of language. There's a total other aesthetic, sort of like we're saying, esoteric approach to this. And I was only, of course, 14 and 15 at the time, so a lot of it was new to me. But what had happened was that this mentor had written down the name of Gerald Massey, the great Victorian, scholar, Egyptologist, and poet, and whatnot. And when we had to leave America, and go back to Ireland, we were only on holiday there. Of course, I thought, it's a simple matter of going and trying to find Gerald Massey's books, and to my horror, nobody had heard of the guy. I couldn't find anything in those days by him, and the librarians just couldn't care less. They just want to kick your ass down the steps, get out of here. And I started to realize then, of course, it's a slow process, that it's not just a matter of this information being available. There's a suppression action at work. It's like what Jordan has been saying in the last segment. It wasn't, I mean, you ask for anything else, any cheese ball rubbish, you see, and it's immediately provided for you, But obviously, even a 15-year-old can work out that, wait a minute, if I'm going to the leading university libraries here, if I'm going to the leading bookstores, if I'm going to, and of course, in an Ireland and British context, you even have some antiquarian libraries that,
Sure.
That should have this work, and they don't. So you're sitting there thinking, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then it was only later on that I actually got the works of Gerald Massey, and to do that I had to come back to America because, here they have these books slightly more available, even though they are suppressed and sequestered works. And that's what started it off. This was my introduction to astrotheology and to some of these larger issues, and also a deeper investigation into the meanings of words, which I emphasize again is connotative. It's not necessarily an academic one. So when people read our work, they sometimes get confused because we're again looking at all of the subject matter in an esoteric way. That is a bit of a phase shift for a lot of people, you see, who are coming out of the schools, who are coming out of listening to so-called academic experts, who's, in my opinion, their understanding of the world that they live in and even some of their own subjects is extremely myopic. It's also highly prejudiced because these people have sacred cows, you see, they have allegiances, which none of us have, So when people, I do see that when people come into the subject matter, there is a little bit of a learning curve for them, but they should be open-minded and not realize that we're not treating the subject in a normal referential way, like a street level way. There is a different kind of approach to this. It is more right brain. It is more connotative. Okay, maybe it lacks some of the rigor of academica, but we make up for that with the scope and the scintillation of what we're looking into, And again, to emphasize the point that I was making before the break, is I don't believe that all the people are ever going to be ready, you see, for this. I do believe it's a small, demographic of aware and enlightened people who are looking for the truth, who are going to come our way. So I don't get bothered and hot and bothered, you see, about the state of the world per se, because I know that this is sacred knowledge. Those who approach it have to approach it sacredly. If you don't approach it sacredly, it's not gonna happen. The magic will not happen. It won't mean anything to you, and it will back you off. We don't need guardians at the door. Your own toxicity is your bane, because a person who does not come to this subject matter with a reverent mind, with a holy mind, a religious mind, because as I said, this is a type of religion, a type of theology. It's an immense self-discovery here. It's intellectually thought-provoking, but it's also spiritually essential. The work that we're dealing with here is essential for the whole of the spiritual, development and maturity of mankind. And astrotheology as a specific subject is the vertebrae. It's the backbone. It's the subject of subjects. It's the vertebrae of all the other subjects. Once we understand how much has gone into it, not just the symbolism and the temple designs, but the words and the phrases, you see, and the symbolism, that Jordan has been exposing and talking about, the meaning of words, so many of the tropes that we see being used in royalty, and specifically when it comes down to dates, George, when certain civic, political, you see, dating. Why does this politician, go over to this statue on this particular date? You know, why is he standing in front of this mausoleum? Why did they initiate this, you know, rule or political change, like say the euro dollar, for instance, you know, or the declaration of war? We're talking about things that are happening before our eyes. They're actually dated based on an old stellar zodiac that you and I and the world are not meant to know about. You know, we're meant to know about the little poxy 12 signs of the zodiac and all of that. Or we may be buying products, you see, that have these ancient astrological symbols on them that people just laugh when you say that. They don't understand it. They don't understand there's an entire occult world out there by which very demonic people who don't mean you well. These are people who are there day and night dreaming about how to control you through lack of knowledge, to make your mind so convoluted, you see, by all the pornographic rubbish that they're pouring out through the, you know, media and through the suppression of knowledge and all of these things. They're at war with consciousness, and they're doing a marvelous job. And so we have to become immune to this. And the only way to become immune to it is through knowledge, through awareness, all of these occult matters, to become aware of what is lying behind the scenes, to empower ourselves with the very same gnosis, the very same knowledge, the very same understandings that these few elites, and they are few, they're not many. We are many, they are few. But they have empowered themselves with occult knowledge. And the time is absolutely right now for that to turn around, and we take the light that these people have blinded us with and that they love to hide behind, you know, and turn it back on them and see how they like it when their dirty little secrets, and they're not little secrets, they're big.
They're like big
dirty,
secrets.
big secrets, yeah, when they're starting to be exposed. I believe that's happening. I don't go out to people to sell my work. They come to me. I see it from the people, you know, interest, their fascination, that even in a beginner level. And I try to keep it like that. I try to keep it on a grassroots level. I try to make it, you know, applicable to what's going on in today's world with lots and lots of, you know, anecdotes of what's going on in our world, because we're living in a bewildering time. And if you're not aware of some of the things that we're talking about, you're not going to understand what's happening around the world. You're not going to understand what's happening in the terms of religion or the whole circus out there, you see. So this is something that makes sense of the world that we're living in, but most importantly, it's spiritually important for the individual's own spiritual understanding to understand the roots, the foundations of religion and politics and symbolism and all of these things. It's absolutely crucial.
That's the same kind of thing that I have been experiencing all my life, is that I have been reading and studying the terms and the words and the symbols that the occult societies, as far back as in the ancient world, the Egyptians and the Phoenician Canaanites, etc., much less the Greeks and the Romans, and then into Eastern Europe, the words, the terms, the symbols that were used by these ancient people are today being used right now in front of us, and most people don't even begin to know what they're hearing. They don't even understand. I mean, I'm just amazed hearing Hillary Clinton, the words that she uses, the terms that she uses, Barack Obama's symbol for his candidacy, for his running for president, the symbols that are used, and McCain just blows me away when he uses certain terms that I know where he's getting those terms. Absolutely. And once you begin to, once you are very familiar with the terminology that is used by secret orders around the world, the encoded words and terms, and then begin to see politicians and the people who are running for president at this very moment using those terms and words and symbols, it is appalling to me. It's right in front of your face, but you don't see it because you are not trained to see it. And I'm just amazed. I'm watching the entire superstructure of this great republic going under, and people have no idea in the world what is going on. They can't read the symbols. They don't know what the hidden words and symbols mean. It's a and I have said to you before, like going into downtown LA and you see gangs are scribbling stuff on a wall. It's not scribble. There are symbols and words and terms there. And just because you don't understand it
doesn't mean it doesn't have meaning.
Doesn't mean it doesn't have meaning. And you know as well as I do, when every generation of kids coming up can sit and talk in front of their parents and talk about all kinds of things using the lingo that the kids are using today. And the parents have no idea in the world what their kids are talking about. Not at all. They could be talking about drugs or sex or something, but they're using the terms that the kids know that the parents don't know. Well, that's exactly how our masters who run this planet and who run our country are using terms and words and symbols that they chuckle to themselves, that they know what they're talking about, and they know that we don't. We don't even begin to know what these words and terms really mean.
And sometimes they have multiple meanings in which they're like chameleons. They can turn it around, like a Rubik's Cube. So just when you think you got a handle on it, or somebody thinks they got a piece of it, suddenly it's changed again. And there's all these connotative shades and nuances,
I'll tell you, the people running for president right now in the country, all three of them are using terms that would knock you out. If I would sit down and go through them and show you how the same terms that are used by the three people by the two people, especially now, but especially Hillary Clinton, the terms that were used by them, the words they're using. I could show you the same words that were used during the French Revolution. I can show you the same identical terms that were used during the Reformation, during the Renaissance.
Yeah.
I can show you the same terms that were used by the secret societies that were trying to overthrow the American Republic as very founding.
In your opinion, Jordan, what do they want? What's the bottom line?
I don't think it's money, and I don't think it's power, because they already have all the money. They can print it all. So
and they have all the power.
And they have all the power. No, I am totally convinced that the Bible is right when it's saying that there is something else going on here. There is a war not only for the minds of men, but for our very existence. I believe that there is in fact a war going on for the ownership of the human race. And I believe, like gangs, the different gangs, the Crips and the Bloods, opposing each other, but they're manipulating the people in the city. They're living off of the people in the city. They're selling drugs to the people in the city, and they're manipulating those people. Well, I think that's what's going on here. I think that we have some extraordinarily powerful, wise, and shrewd people who are not interested in money or power. They have both. They are after our very soul. They are after the very life force of the human race. They want to absolutely consume and control the human creature, period.
Are they Luciferians?
Well, Luciferian is a very interesting word, and it's very misunderstood. Lucifer was quite simply, has nothing, all Bible reference work that you can go to any good Bible bookstore and go through all the Bible dictionaries, all the Bible reference work at these seminaries, libraries, which I lived in for years. And you will find that Lucifer was nothing more than the planet Venus. It had nothing to do with the devil at all. As a matter of fact, the very word devil is simply a D put in front of the word evil. It becomes devil, and God is taking an O out of good, and it becomes God is good and devil is evil. It's merely a use of words and terms, tricks. But there is something going on a very high level, and it has nothing to do with what you think it does. They're not looking for political power. They're looking for the very life force. And this is what Hollywood is talking about. Spielberg is, did movies like War of the Worlds, where the subtitle for War of the Worlds is they're not coming, they're already here. I would suggest that maybe we are being invaded by other world intelligences who are actually after our very soul. This is quite simply the story in the Bible. This is quite simply the story in the Hebrew tradition, that there are dark forces in the universe. Christians call them evil, devils, spirits, demons. I don't care what you call them, but the Bible very clearly shows in the Old Testament that they look like us. They look like humans. I mean, Genesis 18 and 19 talks about three men that come walking up into the camp of Abraham, and they sit down and have dinner with Abraham. And then when they leave, It says that that was the Almighty God, the Creator, with two of His accompanying angels. And in Genesis 19, it goes on to say that those other two were the angels that went into Sodom and Gomorrah, and they were good-looking, handsome men. I'm saying that I believe hidden and I talked about hidden codes in the Bible years ago. I believe that there is something to this idea that we have been invaded by other world entities. I don't know what else I would call them. I don't know what other term would be acceptable, but I don't think that the world that we live in is being run by humans. I think that the people at the top of this world are inhuman. They don't give a damn about human life, about Christianity, about truth, righteous, nothing. They care only for the consuming of the human family, to own and control the entire human population. And unless and until you begin to wake up and find out how big this thing really is and how frightening it really is, you're never going to suspect how you've been had and been misled by all the words and terms and symbols that are being used.
So the underlying message from all of this, and especially the videos that I put out, is that the importance of words and symbols is more than anyone can know, because it is an entire language that is being spoken without our knowledge. And once we gain the eyes to see into the occult world, what they've been saying to each other and what they're saying to the world, even to us in our subconscious mind, without our knowledge, is very profound information that we should become more aware of. And you guys can listen to this entire video. I'm going to leave this link in the description box. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again on the next one. Thanks for watching.